Hi, I'm Craig Rollason. My current role is I'm the head of business analysis at Biffa, the environmental services company. Um, I've been in business analysis now for, probably well over 30 years, in both a doing role and as a manager role more recently. I've been a Samaritan for just coming up to a year now, having done the training. So I've been a listening volunteer for probably around 9 months now. So that's my background. Well, a couple of things really. In my career as a BA, I've always been interested in mentoring and coaching, particularly when you get into management. Really something I'm very interested in. And so, Samaritans, it's not exactly the same because, it's not the corporate environment. Anybody can phone a Samaritans, but there's definitely a big element of helping people understanding their situation. So it was, I guess, a natural progression to explore a little outside the corporate world what I could do to help people develop. Or in Samaritan's case, help them with the challenges that they've got when they call you. I think the second thing is, as a BA, we're naturally curious. We like to understand how things work and why things are the way they are. And Samaritans, it's a serious topic in terms of suicide, and in the UK, every 90 minutes somebody takes their life. Men are 3 times more likely than women to take their life, and it is indeed the leading cause of death for men under 50. And also, there's increasing rates of suicide for women. So, it's there's also a curiosity around, well, what's happening there? What's the situation? And you start to build up a view of that over time. So there's just a natural curiosity to what's happening in the wider world and what's happening with suicide rates. Yeah, I think for me there's the big overlaps. There's 2 things really. There's the one is the listening skills, and the second one is the analytical thinking. So clearly, when somebody phones you, the big thing with Samaritans is it's a listening service. It doesn't solutionize or tell people what to do. It's really a listening service. So you really learn to develop a good set of listening skills, and you use you develop listening techniques and you practice those. So big overlap there with business analysis, because of course you often go into situations where you have to listen to what the stakeholders are after. You have to explore and build a full picture. So in the same way as a BA, you're building a full picture of the business situation. With Samaritans, you're building a full picture of what's going on for the individual and letting them share their world and what's happening for them. I think the second area is the analytical thinking. So, I think it was sort of a few weeks into the training with Samaritans, I thought, well, what's happening here is A, yes, I'm listening, but B, the analytical thinking's kicking in. So I'm having to draw out, well, what's happening in this situation, and I started to use some of the BA techniques that I'd learned. So rich pictures, building a mind map, they're all ways to really chart the territory of the individual and what's going on for them, and by helping them explore their world and what's going on for them, and letting them talk about their situation, it really helps them share what's happening for them, and what led them to call Samaritans and what's going on for them. I think being a good listener is really at the heart of being a BA, I think, because you're trying to understand what's going on in a situation. And I think sometimes in the past as a BA, I've gone in and I've tried to I need to get this process defined, or I need to get these requirements defined. And yes, that's important. But actually more important than that is to really understand what's going on for the individual. What do they think about this overall situation that they're finding themselves in? Because if you go in just with your agenda, you get a much more narrow view of the situation. So actually learning to listen, and listen without, and I call it listening to understand rather than listening to respond. That's the key here. You just want to really let the individual say what's going on for them. And I think that's a really important thing that I started to learn as a BA, but Samaritans has really sort of honed that importance of having that person-centered view of what's their world and what's happening for them.